Am I audible? Please respond anyone. Otherwise, I will move on to the class. So, is my screen is visible? One is responding. So, I hope my screen is visible and my voice is also us. Last class, we have seen what are the advantages of database management systems compared to the file system. Database management systems having faster access, also no redundancy due to that consistency and no attributes for accessing the data, no attributes are required for accessing the data. That means you don't require to know the file location where the data is actually stored. You can simply access the data by using. Also, it provides more security by providing some privileges, by granting some permissions based on some access permissions, based on their rights. So these are the advantages, and these are all the disadvantages in file systems. So these are all in database management systems by storing all the data at one place. Next one, view of data or data abstraction. So view of data or data abstraction means, so generally we store the data in the database, but we want to work with the data. We want to work with the data. To work with the data, we don't need some internal complexities. So whatever we require, whatever the essential components are needed to work with the database, so those are only exposed to the end user. So that is nothing but data abstraction or view of data. View of data. So that means data abstraction refers to the process of hiding internal complexities or irrelevant details from the user. So generally the example is when you are working with Gmail. When you are working with Gmail, we just know what is the mail we have received and what is we are sending. So that is only we require. So but how the data is stored, where the actual data is stored, which is sent by us. So that means whether it may store in USC or in any other Google server. So that all the internal details and how the data is transferred from your system to your friend system. So that is all not required for us. So that is hidden to the end user or as a Gmail user. So we don't require. So that is nothing but data abstraction. So this abstraction is provided in three different levels in database. They are physical level, conceptual level, and view level. Physical level, conceptual level, and view level. So by using these three levels, we'll also achieve data independence. So what is data independence? We see in the further slides. So here we have three different levels. One is physical level, another one is conceptual level, and third one is view level. So now we'll see what is each. So what is physical level, and what is conceptual level, and what is view level. So generally data is in database. So data is in database. That means so actual data is stored in the database, but that is viewed differently for the different users. Suppose when you are observing the top level, when you are observing the top level view, so that is view level. So here view 1, view 2, view 3, view 4. So that is in a database consists of total amount of data, but that is not viewed by all the users in the same manner. So based on their privileges, they can view the data. That's why the view is different for each and every user, each and every user. So here user 1 is having view 1, user 2 is having view 2, user 3, view 3, user 4, view 4. That means, for example, already in the last class we have seen, suppose our college students data is stored in a database, or so total 3000 or 5000 students data is stored in a database, but all these students data may not be viewed by every person. So based on their privileges they can view the data. For example, students are there. Suppose user 1 is student 1, so he can only view his details. That means even though the database contains 3000 students information, a student 1 can only view his data, not the remaining students data. In the next, suppose user 2 is there, so user 2 is there. So if user 2 is faculty, suppose user 2 is a particular faculty or some faculty X. So here what a faculty X can view, he can view only the students who teaches or who handles a particular class. So whatever the students details, those are handled by that faculty X. He can only view that particular class students data. No other class students data cannot be viewed. So he cannot access. Suppose if user 3 is a suppose department HOD. Suppose department HOD. So here department HOD, for example, ECE HOD is there. So here ECE HOD can only view his department student details, only ECE student details. So all the ECE branch student details can be viewed by ECE HOD. So our database contains all the department students information, but according to his privilege, according to his permission. So he can only view his his branch students details. Suppose that means the view is different for student 1 and faculty X and ECE HOD. So even though the database contains all the students information, but based on their rights, based on their privileges, they can have a different views. They can have different views. Suppose if user 4 is a principal, if user 4 is a principal, he can view all the 3000 students data. So that means here based on their privileges, so everybody having a different view. Everybody is having different view. This is nothing but view level. So this is nothing but view level. What this level shows, so what data or how data should be visible to the end user. So what data is actually visible. So what is the view? Next one, suppose when you are coming to the next lower level, conceptual level, what this conceptual level describes is, so what data is actually stored inside the database. So what data is actually stored inside the database. So that means, so here what data is stored in our database? 3000 students information. So what is their name? What is the roll number? So marks, aggregate, so their branch, so semester, current semester, and his address and his ID. Like all these details are stored in. How the details are stored? So in a table format or in a some other tree format or maybe some graph format. So in what level, what data is actually stored is represented at logical level. So that means in what way they are stored. So next one, when you are going for the next lower level, so that is physical level. So physical level shows what data is, how data is actually stored inside the database, actually stored inside the database. So how the data is stored in a bits form or bytes form or in separate format. So what is actually the internal representation. So how the data is actually stored inside the database. So here these are the different levels. Suppose when you are observing, so here the user 1, user 2, user 3 may not having they may not require how what data is actually stored in the database and how the data is actually stored. So they can only know how to access the data. So they want only how to access the data. What command I need to know? So to access his details or to access his class student members or to access his branch student members, or if it is a principal, so how to access, so to all the student details, what command I need to execute. So this is only required, so but not what data is actually stored, how to enter the data. So that is all not at all required. So these complexities are hidden to the end user, hidden to the view level. Suppose when you're observing logical level, so logical level shows what data is actually stored. So whether it is students information or employees information or any other information. So if it is employee information, so what are they? So what is employee ID, employee name, his salary, designation, so department, so and the location. So what is his address, his date of joining. So all this information is stored, is represented at conceptual level or at logical level. So next one, at this level, the user may not require. So how data is actually stored inside the database? How data is stored? So whether it's in table format or in bits format or bytes format, what format internally it uses, zeros or ones or some other any Unicode or ASCII code, like what data, what format internally uses. It's not needed. You just know only what is the data inside the database, and this is the complexity hidden to the logical level from internal level. So in the next level, in the last level, in the internal schema, so it specifies how the data is actually stored. So whether in bits format or bytes format. So that is all. So these are the three different levels of abstraction. So this is the by using these different levels of abstraction, we are hiding complexities to the external user, or from one level to another level. We are hiding all the unnecessary details or irrelevant details from one level to another level. So here bits and bytes are so hidden to logical level, and how the data is stored is hidden to the view level. So these all these complexities are hidden. These irrelevant details are hidden by providing this data abstraction or levels of data. So this is all about view of data or data abstraction. So are you okay? So please respond through the chat box if you have any doubts. So uh, go through the chat box. So you can type in the chat box and I will rectify this. So we'll start discussing about your doubt. Please respond. Anyone? So anyone from ECE? So, so I understand what is the levels of abstraction and our view, our views of data. So please respond through the chat box. I hope everybody understands. So we'll move on to the next topic, or we'll see some simple definitions regarding what is this levels. Simple pictorial representation for levels of abstraction. So what is this physical level represents? How data is actually stored. So in bits format or bytes format, or what it is. So it deals with the data structures used in physical, and it is also called as internal schema or internal level. So logical level describes what data is to be stored in the database and their relationships among those data. So generally this is represented by using ER diagrams at conceptual level, at schema level. So next one, external level. So here only part of data can be viewed at a time, but not at the entire database. So here, even though database contains so total amount of data, but it cannot be viewed all the data at a time. So based on their privileges, they can only view a part of data. That means every view is different. Every view is different for other users because based on their privileges. So that's why it is also called sub-schema level or view level. So this is all about use of data or data abstraction. Next one, data independence. Data independence. So data independence means, so here this is achieved with the help of data abstraction. Data abstraction. So modifying the schema definition at any level without changing the schema definition at any higher level. So here, so schema in the sense. So here schema means it is a snapshot. So what is the data appeared at a particular point of time. So that is called so or the overall data structure, overall the data in the database is called schema. So what about sub-schema or instance? So instance in the sense, so what is the data represented or what is the data viewed at a particular instant of time is called instance. So here instance is related to view level. So instance in the sense data viewed are visible at a particular point of time is called instance or sub schema. So whereas schema in the sense, schema means the total number of database, the total database in a data, the total data in a database is called schema. That means schema represents the entire information, whereas subschema or instance represents part of the schema at a particular point of time. Whatever the data is visible, that is called subschema or instance. So here in data independence, we will modify the schema definition at any level without changing that schema definition at any higher level. So this data independence is achieved in two different ways. One is physical data independence, another one is logical data independence. So what is meant by physical data independence and what is meant by logical data independence, we'll see in the next slide. So are you okay? So data independence in the sense, so we can modify the schema without changing the schema definition at any higher level. So that means we can change the schema at higher levels without changing the schema at lower levels. So this is happened in two different ways. One is physical data independence, another one is logical data independence. So what is physical data independence? So it refers to the characteristic of changing the physical level without affecting the logical level or conceptual level. So here what is physical data independence in the sense, so we can change the physical level without changing the logical level or without affecting the conceptual level or the schema level. So using this property, we can easily change the storage device. So that means storage device in the sense, generally we'll store the data in hard disks. So CD-ROMs, Blu-ray discs, flash drives, like some tape drives. So like in the different, by using different devices, we'll store the data. So here also, when you are storing data in a database, the database is also stored in some hard disks or tape drives or CD-ROMs like. So in this, by using this physical data independence, we will change the storage device. We will change the storage device from hard disk to solid state drive or solid state drive to magnetic tape without affecting the data stored in the database, without affecting the data. That means you need not changing the data. So without that means, suppose if our database contains 3000 students information, so previously it is stored in a hard disk in our college system. So now I wanted to move this 3000 students information from hard disk to any tape drive or any magnetic disk. So during this change, you cannot, it may not affecting the data in a database. That means it may not affect the students data. So that is nothing but physical data independence. So that is physical data independent means changing the physical devices without affecting the data stored in the database. That is nothing but physical data independence. So here the example. So the example for physical data independence is, we can simply change the storage device from mechanical hard disk to solid state drive, or to a magnetic tape, So even though you are changing from one drive to another drive, so it may not affecting the internal data. So that is nothing but physical data independence. Okay, are you follow or not? So please respond anyone. So if you are not responding properly, so how could I move to the forward? So anybody can respond. So otherwise I feel everything is clear and clean. So please anyone respond through the chat box. So meanwhile I'm waiting for 1 hour. Anyone from ECE? Okay, okay. So is my voice is clear? So okay, I will move on to the next topic, that is logical data independence. So logical data independence. So logical data independence in the sense, so changing the logical level without affecting the external or view level, without changing the external or view level. So even though you are changing the logical level, that may not affecting the view of a particular user. Suppose a database consists of some 3000 students information. So every student, we maintaining every student id, student name, address, and his branch. So this is the initial view. So after some time I wanted to add so one new attribute for the student, that is his Aadhaar card number. I wanted to add his Aadhaar card number. So even though you're adding this new value to the existing database, it may not changing the view of the existing user. So even though you're adding Aadhaar card number for the table, so that may not affecting the view of a user 1 or user 2 or user 3. So previously, even after changing, the user can view the data in a previous manner. So by including the new data, so that is nothing but logical data independence. Even though you're adding new data to the new attributes to the existing tables or existing information, that may not affecting the view level, or that may not affecting the user's view. So that may be the student view, or so HOD's view, or faculty view, or principal view, whatever it is. So even after changing, they can view the data in previously, whatever they have viewed previously. So that is nothing but logical data independence. Are you follow? Are you okay? So this means, so this is also helps in separating logical level from the view level. That means here, so here even though you are changing logical level, so that may not affecting the view level. So that means both are independent. So they may not dependent on one each other. They may not dependent on one each other. So because of this, we can easily change the view. We can easily change the application. Suppose if database is, suppose if logical level is represented with Oracle database, logical level is represented with Oracle database. Suppose a view level, so the users can view the database data by using any graphical user interface, For example, IRCTC data is there. So railways database system. So that is stored in Oracle system. That is stored in Oracle database. But the data is viewed by using any web browser. By using, you can use Chrome or Mozilla or Firefox. So that is, even though you are changing the application. So initially, if you are using Chrome, so by Chrome you can access the data. Suppose if Chrome is not available, you can also use another web browser, maybe using Internet Explorer or maybe using Firefox like. So that means, so here view level and logical level both are independent. So even after changing the view level, so application, so that may not affecting the logical level. So even though you are changing logical level, that may not affecting the view level. So that means both are independent. So this is nothing but logical data independence. So logical data independence. That means if you do any changes in the logical level, then the user view of the data remains unaffected. So generally, what this logical level includes, so changing data definition. So changing data definition in the sense, so modifying the existing student's information. So here a student is an object. Suppose initially for the student object, we are giving only three attributes like student ID, student name, his address, and his college name. So later onwards, after some time, we are going to add some more new attributes: his branch and his roll number, his branch and his college name and his Aadhaar number. Like we are trying to add new information, even though you are adding new, so they may not affecting. That means adding, deleting, updating any new attribute or any entity or relationship in the database, that may not affecting the user view. So this is all about logical data independence. So this is achieved because of levels of abstraction. So here independence in the sense, logical data independence in the sense, logical level is independent from U level. If you made any changes to the logical level, that may not affecting the external level. So in the phase of physical data independence, so even though you are changing storage structures, So that may not affecting the logical structure. That may not affecting the logical structure. Suppose same data is retained. So how it is achieved? So how we can achieve this logical data independence and physical data independence? Because of data abstraction. Because of data abstraction. So this is all about logical data independence and physical data independence. So are you okay? Are you follow my class? So till now what you have discussed? So are you understand? It is understandable or not? So you can give your views through the chat box. So whether it is understandable or not. Anyone respond from ECE? Okay, okay, ma'am. So now we'll move on to this another topic. So that is instances and schemas. So already we have seen what is instance and what is schema. So schema means the overall description of the database is called a schema. That means the entire information in a database is called schema. So what is instance? The collection of data stored in a database at a particular moment of time is called instance. So that is view. So this instance is different for each and every user because their privileges are different. So the view is different for student to faculty, and the view is different for faculty to HOD, and the view is also different for so HODs to principal, sir. So that is the view is different for each and every user. So because they have different privileges, they have different privileges. So here, what is the view of a particular user is called instance. So this is all about schema and instance. Are you follow? So next one. So till now we have seen what is the views of a data, how what are the different levels used in the databases to store the data. Now we'll go through the, now we'll see how to store this data, in a database. So we may not directly store the data in a database. So to store the data in a database, we need to do some exercise. For example, so if you want to create a simple C program, what we need to do? First, you need to take the problem. So take the problem, and next one is you can analyze that problem. So what is required? So from analyzation, suppose if you want to find out uh, the sum of three numbers. If you want to find out the sum of three numbers, so first you need to analyze this problem. So by analyzing, so you can identify what are the inputs and what are the outputs required. So here our problem is to find the sum of three numbers. So here, what is this we require? We require three numbers and to find the sum, So totally, what are the inputs required and outputs required here? We need three inputs and we require one output. So that output is sum and the inputs are three numbers. So for example, let us consider them as A comma B comma C. So once you're identifying these inputs and outputs, then you can perform the processing. That means next step is how to perform this addition of three numbers. What is the operator we required? So already we have three inputs. Now how to combine them? How to sum up? So they may sum up by using plus operator, addition operator. Like you can write A plus B plus C. So after writing this, we get some intermediate result. So we get some result. So that result should be stored in a sum value. How to represent this statement? So that is sum equals to A plus B plus C. So these are the steps you require to solve a sum of three numbers. So here, in the same manner, after writing this, after analyzing this, we'll convert this analyzation into some algorithm. We'll convert this analyzation into algorithm. So algorithm means, so it is a set of English words to solve a particular problem, or it is a set of sequential steps to solve a particular problem written in an ordinary English. So here our problem is to find out the sum of three numbers. So how to sum? So you need to require three variables and one output variable, and in between we need to perform some addition of three numbers and add it to some. So all these statements should be written in a some comfortable manner in a some sequential steps to solve that problem. So first you can take you can read three numbers. So input a comma b comma c. After reading this, you can write sum equals to a plus b plus c. After calculating this sum, you can add some print sum. So these are the steps written in an English words. So these are steps are nothing but what we have get from the analyzation previously. So this is nothing but algorithm. So after converting this algorithm, so you may not direct rightly a program. So from this algorithm, you can convert it into, you can get a flowchart. Flowchart is nothing but a pictorial representation of a particular problem. So because all the words may not be understandable by every person. Why? Because here, so here language is different for region to region. So region to region. Suppose here in AP, so mostly we are dealing with Telugu. Suppose if you are going for northern states, northern India, so they are dealing with Hindi. Suppose if you are going for outside Europe, they are mainly dealing with English. So here, if you are writing this algorithm in English, so that can only be understandable by European people, but they may not understandable by the uh, Indian continent, Indian subcontinent, because in Indian subcontinent we are mainly dealing with so Hindi language. So how to make them understandable this algorithm to everybody? So to make it understandable for everybody, we need to convert this into some pictorial representation. Pictorial representation. That means a picture worth 1,000 words. So that means a picture can understand by every person, irrespective of their language, irrespective of their communication. So that's why we need to convert this algorithm into some pictorial representation that should be understandable by every person. So this is nothing but flowchart. So from the flowchart, we can extract the code. So that code is written in a C programming environment. So by writing some, so int main, so scanf, printf, so sum equals to a plus b printf percentage c comma. So like you can write the program. So these are the simple steps required to write a simple C program. So in the same manner, so if you want to store something in a database, so you may not directly store the data into a database. Before that, you need to perform some analyzation. You need to perform some analyzation. So how to perform this analyzation? Suppose we want to create a database for our college VBIT. So what we are trying to store in this database: students information, employees information, so books information, so like different information regarding the books, employees, students, and their salaries, office staff. So different information. So for storing this employees data, for creating the VBAT database, first you need to analyze this. What we need. So what we want to store. So what we want to store here is, so we want to store employees information, students information, so books information, so that means library information and all. So once you're identifying these, so then what this represents, suppose a book is there, so you cannot directly store the book. So a book having a different properties. Suppose every book has a name, authors, price, edition, so number of pages. So like these are the properties. So you can analyze this, you can extract this. And next one, suppose employee. So employee name, employee number, employee ID, so his salary, designation, so the branch who deals with. So this is the way you can. Suppose student, so student information. So students are relating to student ID, student name, student address, so his branch. And this is the way you can analyze. So after analyzing this, so in a paper, in a pen and paper. Now this pen and paper work is not suitable. So these values should be converted into some system understandable manner. System understandable manner. So already in the last previously we have seen algorithm is algorithm is nothing but it's a set of sequential steps to solve a particular problem. But this is in written. This is in words format. These words are not understandable by every person. So that's why you need to convert them into some pictorial representation. So in the same manner, in database also, before writing this, before storing the data in a database, so you can convert this words, whatever the student information, employees information, and books information into some pictorial format, and what their relationships, all these, and the collection of all this information by using one method. So that method is nothing but a data model. That method is nothing but a data model. So that's why here a data model is nothing but it's a collection of conceptual tools for describing the data, data relationships, data semantics, and consistency constraints. So here describing data, how the data should be stored. So what data here? Students data, employees data, books data, and the relationships among those data. So suppose students. So students are, all the students are not relating to one department. Suppose all the students are relating to one college, but may not relating to the same department. So here some students are relating to ECE department, some students are relating to triple E department, and some are CSE, some are civil, some are mechanical, so some are information technology. Like these students are relating to different departments, and you need to establish a relationship. So how to establish, and what is the semantics, how the data should be stored in a database, in which format we want to store, in a table format or in a graph format, so what format, and there how to avoid this repetency of data, how to avoid this repetency. Suppose here students having multiple students are there, so how to avoid the repetency. Suppose unnecessarily if you are storing the same student data two times or three times by different persons, so that may leads to inconsistency. To avoid this inconsistency, you need to meet write some conditions. So to avoid this inconsistency, that conditions are nothing but constraints. So all this information is nothing but one data model. So after analyzation, we get some information. So like student data and their relationships and their semantics and their conditions, to avoid different types of things like consistency, redundancy, and all these things. So whatever the model that represents all this information is called a data model. So data model. So and data models are also used to show how data is stored and connected, accessed, and updated in the database management system. So once you are defining the data model, so by using this data model, you can also store the data, and you can also connect the data. So like all the students' information is in at one place. That means at one object. So whereas all the departments information is at another place, but these departments are some way connected to the students. So in this, how they are connected? So by using some students are relating to ECE, some students are relating to triple E, some students are relating to CSE. So this is the way they can relate. So how to establish these relationships? So this is also connection, the link. So this is also represented by data model. And how to access once you are storing the data. Next, how to retrieve them in an efficient manner. And if there is any changes in them, how to update, how to modify. So these are all represented by data model. And here we have so many data models are available. So many data models are available for representing this information. So for example, hierarchical model. So hierarchical model, relational model, model, so snowflake model, like different models are available. So network model. So for representing this information, for representing this students data, employees data, books data in a connected manner, we have different types of models are available, and some of them are hierarchical model, network model, relational model, model, so static model, flat model. So like different models are available, but among them, the most widely used model is a relational model. The most widely used model is relational model. Okay, and what is the and how these data models are classified? So generally these data models are classified into two types. One is object based logical models, another one is record based logical model. So that means the data is represented in two ways. One is by using objects, another one is by using record-based logical models. So why we call it as a logical models? So they are for representing the data. They are for representing the data. So that's why they are called logical. They are at a middle level. They are at a middle level. So I hope you understand about what is a data model. So data model means it's a collection of conceptual tools for describing data relationships, and their syntaxes and semantics, and their consistency constraints to avoid the repeatancy. So I hope everybody understands this. What is data model? And now we'll see what is object-based logical models. Another one is what is record-based logical models. So please respond anyone. So have you understood this? What is data model? So anyone from the class? So I hope everybody understands. So if you have any doubt, so please go through the chat box one. So if you have any doubts, please go through the chat box. So first one, object-based logical models. So here, in object-based logical models, there is no fixed format for representing the data. So there is no fixed format at all. So you can represent uh, as per your requirement. As per your requirement, depends upon your situation. So the next one, these models are consists of conceptual tools, not at all the implementation tools. These object-based logical models are purely conceptual. So that means they are not implementable. They are not in an implemented format. So they are not relating to any computer science. They are not relating to computers. They are the concepts of pen and paper work. They are like flowchart, algorithms, and all these things. So they can only be written on pen and paper. So the actual code is written in a C programming language. So what we have written in C programming or C programming instructions are different from this flowchart and algorithm. So that's why in the same manner, this object-based logical models also, so like flowchart and algorithms, they are purely conceptual. They are purely performed by using pen and paper. And these are used for designing logical or conceptual level of database. So that means how the database is going to be. All this is at for designing level. So on one more example is for the conceptual level. Suppose if you are trying to construct a building, so how to construct a building? Are you directly construct it, or first you need to draw a rough sketch? So before constructing any building, so first everybody will go to the architect, will go to one design engineer, so architect. So the architect may analyze your problem. So listen your request. So listen your problem, and according to your, suppose if you want to build a particular 3 BHK, suppose 3 bedroom flat, so 3 bedrooms, hall and kitchen. So this is your requirement. This is your problem. So this is the house you are going to build. So this is a problem you can given to architect. So the architect will give different models on paper. So different models on paper. So those are nothing but conceptual. So they're not the real values. So once you are getting your requested model, so that model should be implemented by using some sand and bricks and some cement. So that is reality. So here also, so before trying to store the data in a database in actual implementation manner, first you need to construct them on pen and paper. So construct them on pen and paper. That's why these object-based logical models are purely conceptual. Purely conceptual. They are only existing on paper. So that's why they are called semantic models. And one of the best example for this semantic model is ER model. So ER in the sense entity relationship model, which is very similar to our flow chart, very similar to our flow chart. So that means here everything will be represented in the form of some pictorials with some pictures, and they are connected with some lines. And these diagrams are useful for designing a logical level of database. So this is the first step. So before trying to create the actual data, so this is an object-based logical model. So here there is no fixed format for representing, and this model is purely conceptual, and it is also called a semantic model, and it is only existing on pen and paper. And next one, the best example for this object-based model is ER model. It is very similar to our flow chart. So here everything is represented in the form of pictures. So from that pictures, we will get the actual values that are going to be stored in the database. In real implementation. So now we'll move on to this record-based logical models. So here, once you are completing this object-based logical model, once you are constructing this ER diagram, from the ER diagram, you can get some formats. So construct that pictures into some system understandable format. So some system convertible manner. So that's why these are also called as fixed format models. So in this category, so different models are available. So some of them are network model, hierarchical model, relational model, so flat model. So like these are some of the examples of this record based logical model. So each and every model has some format. So each and every one will represent the data in some format. Suppose network model. So network model will represent the data in a tree format. Suppose in a hierarchical manner. In a hierarchical model, the data is represented in a graph format. Suppose in relational model, the data is represented in the form of relations. That means in the form of tables. So in the previous level, so in object-based model, so they are only in the form of pen and paper and in the form of some pictorial representation. So these pictures are not understandable by the system. So it understands some information whether in tabular format or in graph model or in tree structure. So here network model uses graph and hierarchical model uses tree data structure and relational model uses table. So when you are observing here these models, every model will have a separate format. We have a separate model for representing the data, for representing the students' information, Now we'll see. So the well-known relational model, how the data is stored in a relational model, and how network model represents the data in a database. People are understand what is record-based logical model, and also the difference between object-based and record-based logical model. Okay, so object models have no fixed format, so whereas record models have some fixed format. Okay, next one, object models are purely conceptual. They are only on pen and paper, whereas record-based logical models are implementable. You may convert them into some programmable format. Another well-known is, so they are called conceptual models. Object-based models are semantic models or conceptual models, whereas this record-based models are nothing but they are implementable. So implementation models. And one of the best example for this object-based model is ER model, where ER in the sense entity relationship diagrams. So everything is represented in the form of pictures. So in the next classes, we'll see what is ER model and how to construct ER diagrams and all. Whereas in the case of record based, so here every model is having one special format. In the case of network model, it is graph. Hierarchical model, it is tree. So for relational model, it uses table. So these are the differences between record-based and object-based models. I hope everybody understand. So if you have any doubt, so please go through the chat box. We'll discuss your doubts. So if you have any doubt, so please go through the chat box. You can type on chat box and we will discuss what you are having doubts in these concepts. I'm waiting 1 minute. So if you have any doubt, so please raise. So meanwhile, I'm taking attendance. Please respond. If you have any doubts, so please go through the chat box. So what we are discussing today. So today we are discussing about levels of abstraction, data independence, and data models. Data models. If you have any doubt regarding these three topics, so please go through the chat box. Otherwise, if you have any doubt, so please raise your hand. I will unmute you, and if you may raise your voice. So in the next class, we'll discuss how the data is represented in hierarchical model and network model and relational model, and what are the different types of users who are working with this database. We'll see in the next class. So I hope everybody understands. So you may leave the class. So if you have any doubt, so please raise.